Hello, everybody. Welcome to my personal leadership development story where I'll be talking about what I've learned in class the last 5 and 6 weeks in ID 315. So here we go. The first thing we did the first week of class was we had to identify ourselves. We had to define what leadership was, what leadership roles we had in the world right now, and what leadership roles we were going to maybe find ourselves in the future. We had to identify our strengths and what we provided as leaders. And I think this was the first good reflection of identifying who I was and how I made myself useful to the world. I defined leadership as taking action to make a positive change. So I kind of defined what actions I was taking right now as a student, as a teammate on the tennis team, and as a worker, as a coworker, employee at a hospital, and other places. So how I was taking action to make a positive change in that, and how I was making an impact. The next thing was we kind of had to find our unrealized selves. What didn't we know? And this was kind of through the journals and just discussion questions and everything. And the biggest thing, my favorite part, was the mission statement, because I got to define my values of who I was and what I strive to do every day, and also kind of motivate me to what I also kind of wanted to become later in life, and kind of what I wasn't doing right now, but what I'd like my mission to become. So here it is. Here's what I wrote down: was be a leader. I wanted to be a leader that practices serving others, continually learns, and lives with the intention to make a positive change. Through discipline and performing at a high level, these habits strive to constantly help others who are in need while enjoying the journey along the way. I think this just says a lot about who I am and what I want to do every day so that I can take the actions to make a positive change. Some other things that I realized about myself was how I learn, and what I prefer, and what's the best way I can grow and develop my knowledge of different situations and everything like that. I also learned how I deal with conflict, and what style I have, and I was kind of the style of the accommodating teddy bear and the compromising fox, where I wasn't necessarily very aggressive on conflict topics, but rather really cared about people's emotions and everything. I think that was important to understand about myself so that I could keep growing as a leader. Let's see, some other important elements that we learned in class also was, I think from the Sacred Acre, we learned the importance of building relationships. We saw from Ed Thomas how he built relationships with his players and how he cared so much about his community and building a good football team to grow everyone that was so much bigger than just a game. I think that was something I really learned. That was probably the biggest thing I learned from the Sacred Acre was the importance of building relationships. The most important thing I think I learned from Leadership on the Line was that just all the different strategies they talked about in communicating with others, and when you are leading people, how you should deal with them and move them and everything. They talked about strategies like observing from the balcony, like just taking different perspective on things, and also when you want change, you need to develop trust, and I think that also ties back into the Sacred Acre, because Ed Thomas was able to build these strong relationships. People listened to him so that these positive changes could happen and more people were taking action. I also think that Leadership on the Line also talks about showing the future, when they want people to take change, when they can show what the possibilities are. That's very persuasive. And I think that's also an important quality of a leader, is being able to have a vision and know what to do to complete that vision by using the people around them. I think this ties into these two things that I learned from those books, I think I really mainly try to tie into my service project. So I was coaching a 4th and 5th grade team, and I had to build relationships with the kids so they could trust me, and then they could change their mechanics of their swings in baseball and tennis and the strategy. And then the leadership on the line, taught me how to communicate with my team, and how I could show them the futures so that they made the change, and I could give them feedback and everything. And I think that was super important. So those things that I learned, I was able to apply kind of in a real world setting and learn from that and practice, communicating and building relationships so that I can make a positive change as a leader. Lastly, a strategy I think the most important strategy I'm gonna take away from this class was honestly right away in the first week with that triangulated learning activity. It was just being able to identify which type of learning is most beneficial for me in the situation that I'm in, and like how those traditional learning, peer learning, and service learning, how in different situations they're all very important, and just wherever I'm at, just being able to kind of switch from those three and be able to learn so I can grow fast and adapt to where I'm at as a leader, because I think learning is so important, because I think we should always continually try to grow as people so that we can be the best leaders that we can, because when we have the knowledge, it's easier to take action and it's easier to make change. So yeah, that is my personal leadership development story. Thank you all for listening, and have a great week.